We've seen basically two great examples of what should happen to support the startup ecosystem in general. So one is from the tech transfer side, and the other side is the mini corporate venture side. Valuematic, a cloud optimization startup, raising $850K in an early stage round from CDP Venture Capital, Progress Tech Transfer, and Toscana Next. Nlcomp, composite material startup, raising $600K in seed round from Summer & Co Shipping, CDP Venture Capital, Zest, and Zero. Starting off the week, I think it's very interesting. We've seen basically two great examples of what should happen, I think, in this ecosystem to support the startup ecosystem in general. So one is from the tech transfer side, and the other side is the sort of mini corporate venture side. So it was a good week last week. Not huge deals happening in Italy, but definitely something extremely interesting for us to consider. So let's start from a very interesting deal. Valuematic, a cloud optimization startup, raising $850K in an early stage round from CDP Venture Capital, Progress Tech Transfer, and Toscana Next. So maybe let's talk about what they're doing and then what happened with the fundraise, because these are two very interesting levels. So I'll give the overview picture and then Nick jump in, of course. So basically, Valuematic is working. Actually, was founded by a researcher in the area of Lucca, Tuscany, and what they're doing is basically working on a new technology for auto scaling. So essentially, basically, the big problem with cloud computing is allocating of resources, and resources being CPU power, network, memory. And basically what a general autoscaler does is essentially optimize this kind of energy allocation to different parts, to different apps. I'm just giving a rough overview. Now, the innovation here is that they're essentially leveraging what they call synaptic autoscale, which essentially is mimicking what is happening in the synapses of the brain to actually use these kind of dynamics to optimize this kind of process. So I was not aware of this problem. It's very technical, it's very specific, but definitely interesting as supposedly it really speed up a lot of the processing power and optimize it in a very, very interesting and valuable scale.
Yeah, no, you got it right. Well, the problem of scaling IT resources in the cloud is a problem that can become very expensive if you get it wrong, for two reasons. Either you scale it too much, so you allocate too many resources and they become expensive quite quickly, or you scale too little or too late, and users will not be able to use your service. And that's very bad. So it's costly in other way. So solutions that allow you to scale correctly your system, I think one of those graal things that all IT managers are looking for right now. So my proposition is quite interesting. I'm not sure that about the specific idea they have, the synaptic approach, but sounds fascinating.
Yeah, not much information from the technical side, but definitely super valuable. I think also they leverage the sort of the sustainable sort of part, which is essentially optimizing the energy consumption. So that's always an interesting angle. On top of that, I think it's a good it's a solid case for what a well-designed tech transfer progress looks like. So we have a team of researcher, and then we have basically very interesting players on the national scale. So CDP, first of all, on one side, of course, the university on the other side, and then Toscana Next, which is a regional fund, basically supporting local technology. So it was a very nice interplay of different entities that actually put together some a solid amount of money that can definitely propel the company forward. So very good example.
CDP invested through the Tech for Planet program that I believe is one of their. It's one of the national technology transfer programs that they launched, focused on the tech for planet, so sustainability. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, interesting angle. I mean, it's a sort of a technical startup financed by a sustainability fund. So that tells a lot about like the kind of angles that these guys are taking. Very interesting. All right, moving forward, interesting case. I'm biased regarding corporate venturing in general, so I have to say it. But it's interesting to see like companies that are essentially supporting startups for their R&D, sustainability, and innovation efforts. So this was a very good interplay. So let's talk about this. Is Nlcomp, composite material startup, raising $600K in seed round from Summer & Co. Shipping, CDP Venture Capital, Zest, and Zero. So just to give an idea of the different player, of course, the startup is an early stage company, is basically working with the problem of fiberglass end of life. So fiberglass has been used forever in different sort of use. One of the major uses, of course, is the naval industry. So the building of the ships. The big problem is that once you need to recycle it at the end of the life, it's very complicated, time consuming, energy consuming, doesn't decay, etc., etc. These guys have built a technology around it in a way to make it more sustainable. So they're playing sort of the circularity card. And what is interesting is that they already had some very interesting POC with big naval company like Cantiera del Pardo, one of the big and famous sailboat manufacturers. And on top of that, they secured an investment from Summer & Co. Shipping, which is a logistic and shipping company, very active in the naval sector, among the other. Basically, that was an interesting. So the interesting thing is that Summer was the lead investor. So this tells us that as an interesting sort of angle, the company really wanted to have visibility on what's happening in the sustainable space, and at the same time work with very interesting founders on what is happening in the future of the naval technology. So it's a very good way to think about corporate innovation, and we can go deeper in this rabbit hole forever. But the idea is really that it kind of plays in a very interesting trend, which again is reviving of expanding R&D beyond the borders of the company itself on one side. So if that's one way of thinking about it. And the second way is, of course, position the company toward what's happening in the new technologies. So naval sector, of course, and everything sustainable is a big topic. And Summer is really doing exactly that. So interesting deal, interesting dynamics.
Yeah.
What also I thought was interesting was, the other players, of course. So we have, again, CDP playing a big role. Zest, of course, another one of the biggest investors. Actually, the two biggest investors in Italy, if you think about it. Not biggest, but I would say most prolific. So CDP and Zest, probably among the most prolific. And on top of that, we have the Zero Accelerator. So Zero Accelerator has been launched, I think, a couple of years ago, if not last year, and they're focusing on marine technology. So a very, very interesting interplay of players to basically support very valuable founders in a strategic industry that Italy is trying to push, which is the naval sector, among the others. So very, very interesting. All right. Nick, let's talk about Axelera AI. Very crazy round. So 61 million grant to develop scalable AI chiplet for high performance computing. So let's talk about the difference between chip and chiplet, first of all, which I know it's not an obvious thing. So apparently chiplet is what, in my understanding, is what people are using to define high performing chips that are smaller in dimension but higher in performance, especially for inferences and machine learning in general. So very, very unique way to kind of frame. And then, one big company that is working in this kind of sector is Axelera. Axelera is, basically we have an Italian founder among the founders, is a Netherlands-based company. but the round was pretty substantial on one hand, and on the other hand, basically they received funding from one of the big European initiative for high performance computing called Euro HPC Joint Undertaking. So that's a very interesting initiative, probably to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I agree with you. Absolutely. So it's one of those examples of a European company investing in the hardware part of AI. We have not many of them. And there's a strong interest in financing and supporting the developments. And AI at the edge, AI is a keyword here. And I think that, again, the interest for this is very strong at all levels. So it's very interesting play.
Yeah. And again, the European initiative, imagine, was started in 2018. And it was always trying to push high performance computing. So very interesting, and very, very interesting sort of support to infrastructure. And it probably got like a huge shift in the past couple of years. So if at the beginning it was on one side with the coming of AI and inference and different AI friendly infrastructure, they probably had internally to like take a big shift toward these kind of topics. So very, very interesting for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Now everybody knows what inference is, since reasoning models have taken the world by storm. So if you put inference on your chip, everybody say, "Oh wow!" Then it's a big thing. So
yeah,
maybe it is. Hopefully it is. So
absolutely, awesome. All right. To end up the session, let's talk about Techstars 2025. So shout out to Martin, sort of the leader of Techstars in Turin, selecting like some amazing companies. I had the privilege to meet some of them last week. Very, very interesting. Different kind of verticals being explored, from HR technology to AI to digital marketing with AI powers. A lot of different founders. All of them very, I would say, technically capable. So there was something very interesting. A lot of them, as I was mentioning to you, basically using AI to do everything. So even inside early stage, they're really like trying to leverage the power of AI to the maximum. For example, the use of Claude for like fixing code and building code. So among the other things. So very, very interesting cohort. I encourage people to check out the website because there is like some very interesting gems there. All right, Nick. Well, this brings us to the end. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next week for another session.
Thank you so much, Jack. Take care. Have a great week, and see you everybody in a week.